Data overload may not be an obvious problem affecting businesses, but it's become one of the biggest pitfalls stifling growth. Here to share how companies can confront this problem head-on is data entrepreneur Shahbaz Ali. Now, unstructured data, of course, has led to the overload I just spoke of. Can you tell me, how are companies being affected?
If you look at, behind the curtains of actual what's happening in data, it actually is unstructured. And when we say unstructured, is the data is coming from various sources. So, for example, a sensor in oil and gas well is actually producing a data which is only understood by oil and gas applications. And if you look at the, trading systems, they are producing a different format. You look at basically retail banking, they're all producing different types of data. How do you actually manage that? And this is the fundamental problem and challenge that companies have. And it's growing 80% much faster than the traditional data that we've seen from databases. And this is a huge, huge challenge for companies going forward.
Are particular businesses more vulnerable than others?
Absolutely. Some sectors like healthcare, oil and gas, and financial services are more affected. You look at oil and gas, 30 years ago, when you were actually getting a data from oil well, it was less than a terabyte. And today, if you actually try to get a survey of one single oil well, you can actually see that this is going to be almost 300 terabytes, so which is absolutely a huge number in terms of just the data. And for those exploratory companies, data is significant. But we see that this problem is slowly beginning to affect all industries, including retail banking, for example, retail sector in general.
So how does data-defined storage offer a solution to these issues?
So we looked at the industry, and nobody was actually focusing on the data. Everybody was focusing on the media. We said we want to focus on what the companies are struggling with, and that's data, which is why we actually created a solution that we call data-defined storage. And what data-defined storage allows you to do, it actually allows you to reduce the cost of storage, the data where it lives on. Any storage, it doesn't matter, it's a media independent. And the second thing it allows you to do, which is quite a big problem, is compliance and security associated with data. Because in a lot of regulated industries, healthcare, financial services, compliance is a big issue. And finally, we also want to monetize the data. So you want to get a value from the data. For a healthcare patient authority, for example, it's very important for them to know what sort of drugs patients are taking. And for a retailer, it's very important to know what shelf space is actually more, useful for consumers. And our, approach to storage management, data management, allows you to tap into the big data, which is basically understanding the data, monetizing the data. If you understand your data, you can grow better.
So is Tarmin's approach unique, or are other companies offering similar solutions?
Tarmin's approach is fairly unique, but our architecture we are actually offering is very much mandated by other people in a very different umbrella, like software-defined storage, like object storage technologies. We differentiate ourselves from those people that we are focused solely on data. So from that point of view, Tarmin's approach is fairly unique, and we've seen the Gartner Group, IDC, industry analysts like ESG and Taneja Group have already validated our approach compared to the approach from large players like EMC, VMware, including IBM and other players. And we are positioning ourselves in a different way for enterprise accounts and enterprise customers, because we feel that enterprise customer requirements, the pain points, they really need the innovation to go into the data, to understand the data, and to actually comply with the data and also the requirements that they have today.
Now, how can you guarantee that a company's data will be held securely?
So there are regulations, and then there are organizational policies that basically, allow you to secure your data. However, compliance is a driver that basically is a very people's-oriented function. How do you access the data? How do you, secure the data? How do you audit the data? How do you know who accessed the data? It's very important from legal compliance as well as HR perspective. The current approach is, again, focus on the storage box. It's like work on a storage box. You secure the storage box, is secure. Whereas we believe that that approach is very old, hence the reason that our product and our solution allows you to integrate transparently into that. We provide SEC compliance, we provide FSA compliance, and we also provide encryption that complies with the federal rules of security provided by FIPS 140. And these security, when it's integrated with identity management techniques, provides you a very secure approach to data management that basically isn't available anywhere in the industry today.
What's on the horizon in terms of data storage issues?
Companies are now seeing the growth of the data is absolutely huge. And the argument always is that, storage is becoming cheaper and cheaper. It's really the human cost that's actually the bigger issue in terms of OpEx. Because as the data grows, you also need more full-time employees to manage the data. And the significant problem is that, how do you actually secure your data that we covered earlier on? And that's also bound with compliance. For example, in healthcare, the healthcare authorities have to keep the data for 21 years. Typical disk life is 5 years. How do you actually do this? So this is basically has to be driven by an intelligent software solution. And finally, everybody is actually looking at big data. They want to basically improve their revenue targets. They want to basically look at how employees are more productive in the companies. This is becoming very important from storage and data perspective. How do we actually handle that? So I think this is what is really for storage industry and data industry actually lies ahead, to work with chief data officers to create really innovative solutions like data-defined storage that will basically address the customer's pain points.
Very exciting updates. Thank you so much, Shabazz.
Thank you very much for providing this opportunity.